It's never a dull moment on the Florida East Coast Medley lead. This 5-mile industrial spur starts from Hialeah Yard at the single track splitting off the Gator Switch, proceeds in the northwest direction past the Hialeah Yard, the Talamaster Switch straight track and runaround, and ends at the Medley Yard, which part of the trackage is owned by Cemex. Over a dozen manifest customers line the Medley lead as well as 3 rock loadouts, and this line is responsible for quite a large share of FEC's revenue traffic. We'll see some of this action in this video.
So that's MI6 over there, and 5 a.m. is behind me. This is how it is on the Medley lead sometimes. Trains are in nice coordination with each other, so this move is done very safely. The rock that MI6 pulled out will probably go on partly 206 and maybe 292.
So this job is actually M006, and you only hear that some of the time on the radio, but the yard masters love to call it the MI6, maybe a James Bond reference. This job goes on duty at 11 a.m. out of the FEC Medley Yard and usually handles cars from Titan America's Pensuco plant, way down there in the distance, or VNG's White Rock Loadout, which is across the Great Crossing. VNG trucks in their rock from a quarry outside of the turnpike. And now, once M006 is clear, the 5 a.m. or whatever it is actually running as, is able to work F. Garcia Wholesale and Export.
Oh, I know where they're working.
Down. Both the flag, all clear. I like the flag.
F. Garcia Wholesale and Export is one of several customers on the FEC Medley lead, which usually takes in foodstuff by rail and warehouses it and distributes it into other modes of transportation, whether it will be domestically or internationally. This customer is usually worked in the morning, but as we can see here, the Medley job is working in a beautiful Friday afternoon, which is why I called into question whether it's actually the 5 a.m. job handling this or if it's one of FEC's other options. The Medley job has its own internal symbol, but usually the crew that handles it depends on what time it's available. Normally it's the 5 a.m. job, but it's 3 in the afternoon, so I'm thinking possibly job 23 is doing it. And while this is happening, MI6 is swinging in and out of White Rock again. This time, I believe it's setting off empties from an earlier 335 or 193 empty rock train. More splendid coordination on FEC's Medley lead. 4 jobs primarily focus their time on the Medley lead, but there are also an array of Hialeah-based yard jobs that handle the ins and outs of the unit trains, including the power moves. These two SD40-2s brought in empty train 335 from City Point, and they'll be heading back to Hialeah Yard for servicing over the weekend. But sometimes, these moves bring back cars. Michael Thornton was very kind to send me this video of one of the FEC yard jobs bringing back some empty fly ash gondolas. Relatively new business for the FEC. Of course, this video looked like I had shot it, so I had to include it, just kidding. In reality, the moves of these cars, as well as the 5-bay SCWX hoppers to Titan's Pensuco plant, are very unpredictable. And a lot of these cars sit stored for days, weeks, or even months. This cut was on a nearby spur, which is actually rail served with Coney cups to the east of me. My buddy Cesar, who you have seen in several of my videos and coverages, was lucky to catch another move of a similar cut of cars pulling out of the Miami Airport Loop. This cut spent 4 months sitting by the airport and of course had to be moved on the one day that I am in New York for a conference. That's the way it goes in this hobby. On Valentine's Day, very fittingly, I got another late Medley manifest run, running definitely as Job 23. They're going to be working tropic oil, which actually has a very convenient vantage point, the same one that the video started with. These MBLX oil loads, which come in via CSX, perhaps from a road near the Gulf Coast, have very interesting features. They have double dome, which likely corresponds to separate chambers of oil. They are both going to be spotted in the industry with no cars pulled out, so this maneuver will be relatively quick. The Norfolk Southern Gondola and PMRX 5-bay hopper are both empties from US Foundry. They go into US Foundry hauling the raw materials used to make the potholes that you see on the street. While not covered in this video, I have covered various switching videos from US Foundry in previous uploads. Feel free to check those out. I'll admit I wasn't too crazy about the light quickly fading, but the full moon was pretty interesting. Job 23 actually has work at one more customer in this little area, but they have to clear out of the main for outbound train 292, the nightly rock train from Medley to Fort Pierce. They will pull into the runaround track at the Talamaster switch. Talamaster switch had to do with a former customer that disappeared probably many moons ago. But this area still has a lot of importance. As you will see right after this clip, the VNG White Rock loadout is located to the right of this grade crossing. The very fine grade of lime rock brought in from VNG's quarries in Northwest Dade is sent onto this conveyor chute onto the hoppers waiting on the two loading tracks. M006 is pulling the cut of 10 to 20 cars at a time out of the VNG house track onto the Medley main, and they will shove it back all the way to the Medley Yard. This cut is going to go on train 292. FEC's outbound Medley rock comes from 3 sources, and VNG is most certainly one of them. And actually, I would have to say it is probably the one with the lowest output compared to the other 2. But that does not stop the MI6 from putting on a show as the 441 revs up the throttle to handle the heavy commodity. Moves to and from the VNG White Rock loadout are usually assisted by a U-man or a supervisor, such as the one in the white Silverado to the right of the frame. FEC's relatively mainstream practice of having U-men on these jobs helps speed up the workload and saves a lot of time for the onboard crew. When all is said and done, we have trains like this one, FEC Train 292 heading outbound to Fort Pierce, Florida. FEC runs approximately 400 rock loads a day spread out on 3 trains, 206 out of Hialeah, 292 out of Medley, and the nightly Cemex unit train 336. The 292 primarily consists of rock from VNG and Titan, cement loads from Titan America, and hypochlorite empties from Allied Chemical, which will go back to their facility in Fort Pierce. Trains like the 336 are primarily Rinker products. Over the past couple of years, rock traffic has actually been on a slight upswing on the FEC. Enough so that even the 5 a.m. job, which handles primarily manifest, has to pick up rock, this particular cut coming from VNG, on its way back to Hialeah Yard. These hoppers are going to go to New Smyrna Beach on a subsequent 206. FEC's Medley line route goes to 5 major destination terminals where locals will shuttle the rock to various distribution facilities. Now, if you thought you've seen it all for FEC's Medley lead, wait till this next clip. One more ace up FEC's sleeve. Cemex, whose rock loadout is just northwest of the Florida's Turnpike, actually owns about the last mile of track on FEC's Medley lead and has 2 public grade crossings. Being an industrial railroad with its own motive power, you can catch some of their locomotives shoving the cuts of cars for FEC's nightly unit train out onto the Medley Yard. And in this particular case, you guys might love this one. Its former FEC GP9 number 661 still with its original configurations, even though I don't think they use the original light packet that much. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me on this backstage tour of FEC's Medley lead, and I would love to show you more of it in the future. But if you want to see that, you gotta make sure you're subscribed to this channel. And while you're at it, please feel free to leave a like and share your thoughts on this video in the comments section below. That being said, I hope you have enjoyed this video. From Medley, Florida, this is TE out.